You didn't cheat. You didn't lie. You didn't disappear or disrespect her. By every measurable standard, you were a good man, faithful, present, devoted. And yet, she still went looking somewhere else. How does that happen? How does a man do everything right and still lose? Here's the truth that most relationship advice will never give you. Women don't leave loyal men. They leave invisible ones. And invisibility has nothing to do with your physical presence. You can be in the same bed, the same house, the same room, and still be completely invisible to the woman lying next to you. There is one specific behavior, one subconscious pattern that men fall into that quietly destroys attraction, erodes respect, and creates the emotional vacuum that another man eventually fills. And the most dangerous part? You are probably doing it right now without realizing it. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what that behavior is, why it works against you on a psychological level, and the precise mental shift that transforms you from the man she takes for granted into the man she is terrified of losing. Stay with me. This one will change how you move forever.
Number 1, the behavior no one warns you about, making her your entire world. Let's get straight to it. The behavior that makes a woman lose respect, lose attraction, and eventually seek validation elsewhere is this: making her the center of your universe. Sounds backwards, right? You were told that devotion is what women want, that a man who prioritizes his woman is a real man. And devotion, in the right measure, is powerful. But there is a line, and most men don't just cross it, they build their entire life on the wrong side of it. When you make a woman your primary source of purpose, emotional fulfillment, and identity validation, you have handed her a weight she was never designed to carry. And here's the psychology. Attraction requires polarity. It requires that you remain a separate, autonomous, compelling force, not an extension of her emotional world. Think of it like gravity. The sun doesn't chase the planets. It simply exists with so much mass, so much density, so much purpose that everything orbits around it naturally. The moment you become the orbiting object instead of the gravitational center, the dynamic shifts. She stops feeling pulled toward you. She starts feeling suffocated, or worse, bored. She doesn't want to be your whole world. She wants to be a beautiful part of a world that already captivates you. The principle? A man with no life outside of his woman is not romantic. He is a burden. Your purpose must be larger than your relationship.
Number 2, why this behavior destroys her respect. The psychology of hypergamy. Here is where the psychology gets deep, and where most men get blindsided because nobody gave them this information. Women are biologically and psychologically wired to seek a partner they can look up to. Not in an egotistical, domineering sense, but in the sense that she needs to feel like the man she chose represents something greater than comfort and availability. This is what researchers call hypergamy, the deeply ingrained drive to partner with someone of equal or higher perceived value. Now, what happens to that perception when you dissolve yourself into her? When your mood depends on her mood? When you cancel your plans the moment she calls? When your self-worth is visibly tied to whether she approves of you? Her subconscious registers it immediately, not as love, as weakness, as a red flag that says, this man has nothing more important than me. And that perception, even if she never consciously articulates it, begins to quietly dismantle the respect she has for you. Respect and attraction are not separate forces. They are the same force wearing different clothes. A woman who has lost respect for you cannot sustain genuine attraction for you. She may stay, out of comfort, fear, or habit, but the connection that makes loyalty feel natural has already broken.
This is why men who do everything right still get cheated on. They confused investment with self-erasure. They gave everything and left nothing for her to admire. The principle? She must look up to you to remain attracted to you. The moment you place her above yourself, you remove the very thing that made her choose you.
Number 3, what it looks like in real life. The subtle signs you're already doing it. This behavior doesn't show up as one dramatic moment. It creeps in gradually through 100 small surrenders that each seem reasonable in isolation. Let's name them clearly so you can recognize yourself. You stop making plans with your boys because she might want to spend time together. You check your phone constantly, hoping she's texted back. You change your opinion the moment she pushes back, not because she made a good argument, but because her disapproval makes you uncomfortable. You apologize for things that don't warrant an apology. You ask for her permission instead of making decisions. You perform for her mood, celebrating when she's happy, deflating when she's distant. Each of these moments, individually, seems like kindness. Collectively, they send one loud, unmistakable signal. I am not secure in myself. You are my anchor. And here is what happens on her end. She starts testing, not always consciously, but instinctively. She cancels plans to see how you respond. She pushes back harder in arguments. She creates distance to see if you'll chase. These are not manipulation tactics. They are evolutionary probes. Her subconscious asking the question, is this man solid, or does he crumble when I shake him? When you chase, she loses more respect. When you crumble, she loses more attraction. And eventually, she stops testing because she already has her answer. The principle: every time you abandon your frame to manage her emotions, you confirm her worst fear, that she is with a man who doesn't truly lead. Number 4, the emotional void you're creating and who fills it. Here is the part that men never connect, and it is the most important part of this entire conversation. When a man makes a woman his emotional headquarters, when she becomes his therapist, his cheerleader, his best friend, his purpose, and his peace all in one, he creates an enormous emotional pressure inside the relationship. She begins to feel responsible for his happiness, and that feeling, over time, does not make her feel loved. It makes her feel trapped. Attraction requires space, real, genuine space. Not the manufactured kind where you pretend not to care, but the organic kind that comes from a man who genuinely has places to be, things to build, and a version of himself he's constantly working toward. When you eliminate that space, you eliminate the mystery. And without mystery, there is no longing. Without longing, there is no passion. Without passion, the relationship becomes a roommate situation, dressed up as a romance. This is the vacuum, and vacuums get filled. Not always by a man who is better looking, not always by a man with more money. Sometimes it is simply a man who feels different, present in himself, unbothered, purposeful, a man who doesn't need her to complete him. That contrast alone can feel electric to a woman who has been carrying a man's emotional weight for months or years. The principle: the emotional space you refuse to create for yourself is the space someone else will occupy in her imagination. Number 5, the shift: how to reclaim your gravity without playing games. This is not about becoming cold. It is not about withdrawing affection or manufacturing mystery by being unavailable and distant. That is a boy's strategy, and it backfires. What we're talking about is something far more powerful, far more sustainable, and far more attractive. It is called self-possession, and it is the rarest quality a man can have. A self-possessed man knows who he is outside of his relationship. He has a mission, something he would still pursue if she were not in the picture.
He has standards that he enforces without apology and without explanation. He has friendships, interests, physical discipline, and a vision for his life that exists independently. He loves her fully, genuinely, but he does not need her to function. That distinction is everything. Here's how to start making the shift today. Identify the areas of your life you have quietly abandoned since entering this relationship. Your fitness, your friendships, your ambitions, your solitude. Begin reclaiming them, not as a manipulation tactic, as an act of self-respect. Then practice holding your flame in small moments. When she is in a bad mood, do not panic. Remain calm, remain warm, but do not absorb her emotional weather as your own. When she disagrees with you, hear her out, and then respond from your own grounded position, not from a place of needing her approval. The shift is not dramatic, but she will feel it immediately. The principle? Self-possession is not selfishness. It is the foundation of every relationship where a woman genuinely cannot imagine leaving.
Here is what you now know that most men will never understand. She doesn't cheat on the man who loves her too little. She loses respect for the man who disappeared into her, who handed over his identity, his purpose, and his frame in the name of devotion. Real devotion does not require self-erasure. It requires self-mastery. Reclaim your mission. Protect your frame. Love her fully, from a place of wholeness, not dependency. That is the man who commands loyalty without demanding it. If this message hit different today, subscribe to Lotsity right now. Drop a comment below. Tell us, what part of yourself have you been quietly abandoning? Let's talk about it. The brotherhood is here. You don't need her to complete you. You need to be so complete that she never wants to leave your orbit. Stay dangerous. Stay grounded. See you in the next one.